Hello and welcome, guys, to our Me and Peter's we're starting to make them quite regular, aren't we? Really, these watch-alongs in Europe, watching the Bundesliga teams. Tonight we've got the Union Saint-Gilloise versus Bayer 04 Leverkusen game. Obviously, very, very evenly poised after a 1-1 draw in North Rhine-Westphalia last week between the two teams. So yeah, really looking forward to a big game in what is known to be a real ferocious atmosphere over there in the suburbs of Brussels, isn't it, Peter?
Indeed, German football writers, as we were talking about just before we went on air, have become quite acquainted with Union Saint-Gilloise. Union Berlin played them twice in the Europa League group stage, and then met twice once again in the knockouts. The Union Saint-Gilloise fans, they were quite memorable. I recall when I was reporting on one of the matches in Belgium, one in which the Union Berlin fans were, as a matter of fact, shut out of due to some incidents at the Stadion on the Alte Försterei. Here we are with Bayern eliminated as we expected last night. This is the final German team in the European club competitions this year. Germans and their view of Bayer 04 Leverkusen, it's not necessarily a team we get terribly excited about, but seeing as how they are our last European representatives of the year, a good bit of the country will be behind them and hopefully tuning in this evening, maybe tuning in and out, but they will be behind them in this particular
just as we get a flash of the Bayer Leverkusen fans as well. Yeah, obviously not known to be the most ferocious of home fans anyway, but they do travel quite well away. You know, they travel in decent numbers, definitely better than a lot of the other company clubs away from home, in my experience anyway. So yeah, it seems as though quite a few of them have made the relatively short trip really over to Brussels for this game. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Any predictions, Peter? I think I'm going to keep the faith. You know, I'm going to say we're going to have a repeat of Frankfurt's win. I've been saying it for a while now that I'm confident that Leverkusen can go all the way and win this competition. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win. It's going to be hard tonight because, you know, they're just such fighters, the Belgians, and, you know, not the best 11 on paper by any means, but I mean, they're just a classic fighters, aren't they? Like, I think there's a lot of comparisons can be drawn with Union Berlin, obviously in Germany, which is quite ironic considering they're both Union clubs. But yeah, I think they're not the most, you know, high-profile 11 players, but they've got a lot of team ethic. They work hard. They run into the ground for each other. But I'm still going to go for Leverkusen to have a little bit more quality and get a 2-1 win tonight, Peter.
Sure, why not? I'll join you in that prognostication, an optimistic prognostication. Truthfully, just about anything can happen. I have seen Union Berlin draw this team twice, and of course also get knocked out in the knockout rounds of the Europa League this year. In particular, a player of interest is Victor Boniface, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is the Nigerian striker. Union Berlin have been linked with him as they prepare for their summer restock. They believe that he could be someone who succeeds in the same vein that Taiwo Awoniyi succeeded in. So he's definitely one to watch. You drew my attention to Christian Burgess from Pompey, was he?
Yeah, he was. He was a Pompey player, I think, back in the days when they were in League Two and League One. Then he made a kind of pretty famous switch, really. I mean, nobody expected it because at the time, SG, we'll probably call him SG tonight because it does get a bit of a mouthful, keep saying Saint-Gilloise. So, yeah, I think SG will do tonight.
Yeah, as Union 60.
60, yeah.
That's at least, I mean, as a match reporter covering Union Berlin versus Union Saint-Gilloise, one did have to differentiate between the two Unions quite a bit, and it got a little bit tricky at times. But Union 60 or Union 60, if you feel like saying it in Germany, German, is also a appropriate way to refer to this team.
Yeah, not quite as good as 1860 Munich, obviously, but yeah, a legendary German club, one for the streets, really, there, man. Yeah, but yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, what do you make of the team lineups? As you can see on the screen there, you can see the team lineups. It looks to be a very, very strong Leverkusen side, pretty much as strong as they could have gone as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, Adam Hlozek is starting ahead of the still injured Patrick Schick, which is probably the main. Obviously Schick not had the best season, has he? Even when he was fit, but obviously you would want him in this kind of game, wouldn't you? Hlozek not really done that well this season, in truth, after signing for big money from Prague in last summer. Peter, any other kind of team news on the Leverkusen side that strikes you there?
Well, we know that Robert Andrich will be playing in midfield and not as a central defender in a double pivot. We're aware of that. Hlozek's start does raise the question of where Florian Wirtz is going to settle. Wirtz could play on the wing, or he could play his traditional role as a false nine, which he's enjoyed immense success in the past few weeks. Certainly done a better job of settling in as a false nine than Kai Havertz did when Peter Bosch thought up that role for him back when Havertz was still playing at Leverkusen. So tactically, that's what we'll be looking at. Otherwise, it looks like a straightforward 3-4-3, probably with Hincapié and Mitchell Baca doing some rotations there between the left center back and wing back role. And let's see, what minute are you in there? Since
it's just started the game on mine.
I believe I'm actually ahead of you.
It looks. Jesus, it seems like you're finally ahead. Yeah, wow, yeah. Leverkusen, go on, you can take us through it, Peter, this time.
Well, perhaps you can take us through it since you're about to see it on the replay there. Dream start for Leverkusen.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I was just looking in the crowd. It seems as though some of the ultras sections for Saint-Gilloise have actually been banned, from what I can see, because there's big. Like 2 ultra sections behind the goals are empty, basically, but the rest of the stadium's full. But anyway, Leverkusen have the lead on exactly 1 minute and 2 seconds, and it's a classic Leverkusen goal, really, and it's that man Diaby who gets it. Poor defending, I think, from Burgess. Actually, it's quite poor defending. It's the Englishman Burgess who actually originally messes up, and I think it's the young man Linnen, who actually also has a kind of English-sounding name as well. And in the end, it just falls for Diaby, who takes it round the goalkeeper and slides in from a tight angle. But what a start for Leverkusen, Peter.
Absolutely, and it all began with Flo Wirtz doing some sumptuous stuff there in the build-up play, as he's wont to do. It's a shame Rune couldn't join us for the match tonight. Rune was Rune, my editor-in-chief over there at bullynews.com, himself a striker in his playing days, immediately noticed how good Florian Wirtz was, particularly as a supplier and build-up play. It looks like we may almost, had it not been for a heavy touch from Wirtz there, we might have had a second goal.
Jeez, yeah. This is a dream start for Leverkusen, yeah.
Certainly. Yes, it's a shame. Well, I'm sure he'll be watching tonight, as it's one of his favorite players. As we see, that's not, that is absolutely a fair challenge. Looks like he went to ground far too easily. Back and forth here in the opening minutes, absolutely. Yeah. Had some counter attempts by the Belgian hosts. Looks like a chance here, and then that's an excellent block by Edmund Tapsoba, the Burkinabe. Right there in the box central. So let's see. I'm at 3:27 now in the fourth.
Yeah, minute. You're literally about 2 or 3 seconds ahead of me, but it's enough.
Well, in that case, we're more or less synced up. That's odd how these.
But what a start to the game! It's been a very, very open, entertaining start to the game, hasn't it? I mean, this is exactly what we wanted. We know Leverkusen I didn't think they were great last week at home. To be honest, I was a bit disappointed, but I think the late equaliser could have turned the tide in this match, really, because I don't know if you watched the game, Peter, last week, but I found that they were really struggling to create chances. Union were defending very well. They were closing a lot of space for the likes of Wirtz, but obviously it was the main man who got the goal, wasn't it, on 82 minutes last week to eventually break the Union resistance, which, at the time you were thinking it's not a great result, a home draw, really. You need to be winning your home games, but the way things have started so far here, it's looking pretty all right.
Well, it's been a fantastic start to the game. Leverkusen are truly going for it. We've had a couple of quality counters from the Belgian hosts, so it looks to be a wide open game here. Let's hope that it stays that way and that it doesn't flatten out. Sometimes when a match gets going this early, they fall back into weak presses and more conservative build-up play. But, well, okay, we don't have much of a press from Union on this Leverkusen bow arc that I'm watching right now. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. This is obviously a side as well who's going for the Belgian title as well. I think I mentioned to you, Peter, before, this is only their second season back in the Belgian top flight after about 49 years away as well, which is incredible. They have an incredible history, the hosts. A team that won 10 or 11 Belgian titles before 1945. But then after then just completely dropped off the radar of Belgian football, basically, when they were replaced by the more illustrious neighbours, the likes of Anderlecht, Club Brugge, Genk, Gand, some of these clubs as well. They became much bigger, but the last 2 years have just been a fairy tale, really, from the hosts. And they qualified for Europe for the first time in over half a century last season. Well, this season, and it's just been an amazing ride for them, hasn't it? It's
was that the case, or because I seem to recall when Xabi was playing for Bayern in the Champions League, he had a rather special night in Belgium. It might not have been against Union Saint-Gilloise.
No, I think it wasn't Gilloise. No, I think it was. I could double check it exactly when that was, but I'm pretty sure it would have been Anderlecht or something.
It was Anderlecht. But you know what? They're playing in Anderlecht Stadium tonight, are they not?
Yeah.
Much in the same way that Union Berlin were permitted to play in the Olympiastadion when they initially qualified for the Conference League. Before they were granted permission to play at the Stadion in the Alte Fürsterei, of course. So yes, they're playing in Anderlecht Park, which is what is it called now? These
I can give the information on that. I was actually correct. Yeah, it's the first. This is their first season in Europe since 1965.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they haven't played a European campaign, and that year they played the Intercities Fairs Cup, and they lost in the first round to Juventus. So in 1964-65 season. So yeah, that's going back a little bit of time, isn't it?
Yeah, and they are in the Anderlecht Park, Lotto Park, it's called now. Yeah. So yeah, that was Xabi. Yeah, back when he was playing for Bayern against Anderlecht. I remember that now. It was in this stadium. Well, let's see if he can have himself another magical night. We see, excellent slip pass there by Wirtz. We have potentially a 3-on-2 developing here, but even Frimpong is not quite that fast. He does dig out a corner. Thanks, Rory. Rory is there telling us up the Bundesliga.
So far, so good, Rory, right? Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, but obviously it's a club that's really, really back on the up. You know, as I say, an incredible rise after years and years in the doldrums, just completely in the middle of nowhere. Really, like as you say, the stadium isn't even up to scratch to host these kind of games. So that proves like where they've come from, basically in the last few years, which is, you know, it's great to see some of these old clubs. You know, in German football, we love the old traditional clubs, don't we? And it's great to see. From obviously a Belgian perspective, that some of the old traditional clubs are also kind of fighting back as well there. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of German clubs as well down in the Zweite Liga, the Dritte Liga, who, you know, would love to be in their position now, like 1860 Munich, even Kaiserslautern, Peter, your beloved.
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up. Of course,
they'll be back within a year or two, I'm sure of it.
I hope so. I mean, I'm actually glad that they kind of got into a little bit of a form slump, because I think to be promoted to the top Bundesliga immediately after being promoted from the third tier just would have been too soon for them. They would have gotten murdered. So like to, of course, see the club stabilize a little bit here, make some more targeted transfers and get back up there. Oh, but yes, I mean, when my beloved Lautern first got relegated to the third tier, I'll certainly never forget it. I was in Lautern in 2008 when we narrowly avoided relegation to the third tier under Milan Sasic. That was a wonderful night in the schöne alte Stadt. Had a wonderful time partying with my hometown friends from until 3:00 in the morning. But a couple years later, well, no, we did get promoted back up to the first flight, and then a few years later, it really did happen that we went down to the third tier. And what can you say? It takes a piece of your soul out of you. It does.
It was a long way back as well for Loughton, wasn't it? They were down in the third tier for what, probably 10 years or so.
Yeah, I shouldn't be too inclined to feel sorry for myself. I mean, after all, you were bringing up Christian Burgess and Pompey. One of our match day preview writers over at Bully News, Ben Sully, has been with us for a couple of years now. He's from Portsmouth. So he knows what it is to truly suffer.
Yeah. They went right down. Yeah.
When you're down.
I mean, Portsmouth suffered from bankruptcy in the end. Yeah, that was their downfall. It wasn't just poor performance. Like the club was bankrupt, basically. Like, or just as Union start attacking now, they get in behind the defense.
Yeah.
Ooh. A bit of a 50-50 there. Not enough for a penalty, though. And in the end, it's played off for a goal kick to Leverkusen. But yeah, you could see that probably the early start for Leverkusen has kind of tapered off a little bit the last 2-3 minutes. And, Union are probably going to have the majority of the possession, I would imagine, from now on, Peter.
We shall see. I think that Wirtz is very much on his game tonight. He's doing all sorts of slick and sumptuous things from all over the pitch. I have no idea where he's supposed to work in this tactical setup. That was perhaps a poor ground switch that we saw from Wirtz. Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you look, I can get a pretty decent look at the Leverkusen shape at this juncture. So I think Wirtz is supposed to be operating central as a false nine, with Lotzek and Diaby a little bit more advanced there on the wings. You see a halfway decent cycle out there on the left from our Belgian hosts. Yeah, a little bit more pressing might be called for from the Leverkusen ranks here, but that's okay. There we have a nice. Let's see what we can do here. Andrej, is that oh, he still has it.
Ooh. You're just a little bit ahead of me tonight, Peter. Yeah, I think it's the first time we've done it when you've been ahead, actually, isn't it? So,
yeah, well, with one of the watch-alongs with Rory, we actually flipped. One of us was, pardon me, one of us was ahead, the other one was behind. It happens, of course.
Yeah.
Very nice free-flowing game of football here. It's very aesthetically pleasing, I have to say. Hard to take one's eyes off it.
Yeah, it is. You can imagine a second goal anytime soon, really. Leverkusen, really, really good start. As you mentioned, a lot of their key players started well, Wirtz especially, but also Diaby obviously getting the goal. Lojek hasn't done very much so far, but, you can expect him to get into the game a little bit further along. But yeah, let's have a look at a couple of the questions we've got in from Ballum as well. So yeah, hello, how are you two? Yeah, we're all fine, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Hopefully Sevilla and Bayer Leverkusen can progress. We will be delighted to see Bayer Leverkusen win the cup. A tough away match on paper, definitely. Yeah, it's obviously Sevilla playing Man United tonight as well. So I think Rory will be focused on that one as well over there in the south of Spain. Yeah, then Ballum says, yeah, decent start. They wouldn't want this to go to extra time or penalties. Yeah, well, I guess they wouldn't mind because they've not got that much to play for in the league, have they really, Leverkusen? Peter, can you see Leverkusen really challenging for the top four now after that disappointing draw against Wolfsburg at the weekend?
Much depends on whether or not they progress in Europe. I think that the primary reason for the disappointing draw at Wolfsburg was the fact that Xabi rotated several key players, including Wirtz out to save him for Europe. But if you recall, when you and I sat down for the first pod of the calendar year, back when I was still in the Bundesrepublik there in Germany, right before I hopped a plane and got across the pond. We were talking about can Leverkusen really climb up? I mean, at that point, they were so far down in the table after this disastrous start. And, I even tipped them for top four at the time because, for obvious reasons, because when Florian Wirtz returns, this is an entirely different team. Xabi has it on easy street once he does. So a lot depends upon Europe, of course. I mean, that's true. But I mean, yeah, of course they could. I mean, it's statistically quite possible. They're 6 points off the top four at the moment. And Freiburg and FC Union Berlin might drop points with a series of draws. It's entirely possible that they can contest top four before the season is out. It's often the case with Bayer. I mean, Germans aren't necessarily thrilled when Leverkusen finish in the top four. This is, a company club. It is not a 50+1 team. It's not. It's is a team that has grown on Germans significantly. Of course, I mean they're not reviled in the same way that Leipzig or Hoffenheim or the manner that Wolfsburg used to be. But it's generally speaking, Germans would prefer to see. Probably the wish list of Germans for the top four would be Bayern, Dortmund, Union Berlin, and Freiburg. Doesn't mean we're going to get it. Leipzig.
Yeah, unfortunately not. Yeah.
Here we have Diaby through again. It's a tight angle shot. Not much you could do with that, I suppose.
Well, you've ended up getting a little bit ahead of me, actually, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, how many minutes are you on there, Peter?
Well, they've taken off so I can see the replay. Yeah, there wasn't much he could do from that angle, unfortunately. Still, maybe could have done better than send it a solid 5 meters wide of the near post there. But as we see a shot, also a shot of some of the Leverkusen ultras there. I mean, ultimately, the reason that the Germans accepted the team with some hesitance is that the fan culture, and the ultras, they did really develop there in that corner of North Rhine-Westphalia. I mean, Leverkusen still, if you attend a match at the Bayer Arena, it can tend to be, what Germans would say, maybe a tad too quiet, a tad too clean, a tad too family friendly, which is perfectly fine as well, I suppose. Germans shouldn't. They find things to complain about all the time. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. I remember the great Leverkusen team. You probably do remember this team, but do you remember the great Leverkusen team of 2003? I think it was 2002 when they got to the Champions League final against Real Madrid. Yeah. I mean, I think all of England fell in love with that Bayer Leverkusen team at that time. Like they had so many characters in there, like Zé Roberto, Lucio. Absolutely brilliant players, yeah. And then obviously later on they had like Stefan Keisling.
Yes,
like they had some fantastic legends, really, didn't they? And I think that the vision of Bayer Leverkusen in other countries is a little bit more positive than it is over in Germany, actually, about the club. That's at least my take. I think a lot of people in England, they kind of respect Bayer Leverkusen. They're a respected club in Europe, Champions League regulars, and obviously the absolute great team. And I remember the coach that they had was Klaus Toppmüller. Do you remember him? Yeah, he was a true character. He was a character.
Absolutely. Do you know Toppmüller's father, or was it his uncle? I forget. Well, look, Leverkusen also is where our beloved Tante Kede, Aunt Kate, otherwise known as Rudi Völler, settled after his stint as the Bundestrainer, as the German national team head coach. And now he's back. He's back as the German national team's technical director. Rudi Völler is referred to as Tante Kede, Aunt Kate, because of his curls. For some reason, so many Germans, including myself, have an old Auntie Kate. I literally had an old woman who was.
It's like in England. In England, everybody has an Uncle Dave. It's like, really, yeah. It's like you can ask any English person, and they always have an Uncle Dave. Yeah,
right. Well, I did have an Aunt Kate. She had curls, not unlike Rudi Völler's, I mean, he's back taking Oliver Bierhoff's position just in time to lead the German national team with our image problems. ahead of Euro 2004. So, yeah, no, there's not Leverkusen is not hated inside the Bundesrepublik, not by any stretch of the imagination. They may be, as we see, oh, that's a nice clearance from Tapso, but it's great to see him playing well again.
Yeah.
The Burkinabe, he was, he really took the Bundesliga by storm. We were also excited to have him in the last 18 months. He's had some form dips. He's had some issues. It's really good to see him playing well. Also good to see Jonathan Tah playing well again. I believe he'll be on his way out of the Bundesliga this year, which is probably for the best for his German national team prospects. There's Andrich pulling the midfield strings. Have something of a looks like we're headed back. Andrich is a player whom always had commendable spirit. Also, when he was playing for Union Berlin, he's meant so very much to this team since he's come by. He is sort of the spiritual talisman. Throws a shit fit anytime they lose.
I think he's a brilliant player, Andrich. I'm a big fan of him. I think he was what Leverkusen missed for so many years, really, Andrich. That kind of hard man in midfield, and obviously he was one of the main reasons why they had such a good year last year, obviously finishing third under Gerard Sioane. But I always found it a pity that he wasn't able to continue that form, because he looked like such a good coach last year. I thought some of the football they played was superb. I remember them totally destroying the away side, BVB in the Signal Iduna Park. 5-2 last season, absolutely brilliantly. It was a real pity that he wasn't able to continue. But yeah, Andrich is a fantastic player for me. I'm a big fan of his. My only problem with him is that sometimes he crosses the line a little bit, and he does get one red card too many, I would say. That's his kind of weakness. But overall, a fantastic leader for that midfield and really good signing. I think they only paid 5 million euros, and Leverkusen almost made it 2-0. Was that Bakker? What a ball across the front that was.
Yeah.
Someone should have been there. That's the kind of strike that Patrick Schick would have finished all day long, isn't it? But
I think they're doing it right with Schick. Basically, with all of his groin troubles that he's had this year, his season is effectively over. I mean, he's been cleared and is training again with the team. But what they're doing with him now is they're saying that we're not going to rush him back. I mean, if he feels like coming back and playing this season, that's fine. He can. But if he would rather just train with the team, get his touch back, and start to focus on next season during the summer preparation, that's fine with them. It's actually what Mainz are doing with their pair of injured players, Maxim Leitch and Jonathan Burkhardt as well. Just saying, look, the season is almost over. We just have the 6 rounds left. You can play if you want to. You can be available for selection in the match day squad, but we're not going to force you. Just recover at your own pace, so to speak. It's been an unfortunate year for him with these persistent problems. It seems like an eternity ago that he was scoring that amazing goal from the halfway line in the 2021 Euros. It really seems like that was eons ago, doesn't it? With the way that he's been playing, or the lack that we've been seeing of him now. Yeah. I like your point about Andrich in that he does straddle the line with dirty tackles at times, as does Piero Hincapié.
He's also had a fair few red cards as well. But he is an Ecuadorian. They're famous for being the most hard tackling nation on the planet, I think. The Ecuadorians.
Yeah, that's true.
They know a good challenge if there ever was a nationality that did. Yeah, but I like him as well. I do like Hincapié as well. I think he wasn't really a player that impressed me that much early on in his Leverkusen career, but I think this season, especially as the season's grown on, he's looked like a half decent player. I mean, he's not a world beater, but he is a player that you can see sticking around in that side. Like, again, he's very, very full-hearted, wholehearted, but he does have some quality in there as well. He can bring the ball out, he can get some good crosses in as well, and he does get the occasional goal too. But with Leverkusen, it is that they do lack that discipline at times, and that has affected them. I think after Augsburg, I think they've had the most red cards in the league actually this season, and a lot of them were early on when things really weren't going well for them. I remember in a game at Mainz early season, they ended up winning 3-0 and still ended up with 9 men. It's like, how can that happen? It's like they were 3-0 up and then they got 2 red cards. So it's that kind of ill discipline that can cost Leverkusen at times. And that's going to be crucial tonight and also going forward in their season, Peter, that they keep that discipline.
Yeah, Mark. I mean, what happened is that, I mean, they were eliminated in the first round of the Pokal this year, Leverkusen were, and they really had difficulty recovering from that. A lot of it, there was Wirtz's injury, of course, and he wasn't available. Also, the captain, the keeper, the Finn, Lukas Hadrecki, if I'm Hadrek.
It's a hard name.
The worst, I tell you. He's quite the character. Bundesliga mainstay for quite some time. He was in deplorable form at the beginning of the season, and he's actually the reason why the Germany's Red Company team, Simon Rolfes and the administrative team, have acquired some keepers for the future, because they don't know how much longer Hadecki is going to go.
Yeah, he's actually a Finnish international as well. He's not Czech like what most people think. He's a Finnish international. Yeah,
he's Finn. He's enjoyed watching him. Speaking of the 2021 Euros as well, he of course made that mistake that enabled Denmark to get out of the group that summer. I remember I was chatting about that with Rune, and it was like, I can't believe Hadrecki made that mistake.
Yeah.
He knows him for a while. He played in Denmark for a good long while as well. But he's a good character in the sense that German football writers, he always supplies us with something quotable. Of course, like most Finns, he's obsessed with sauna, with beer and sauna. So he talks about that endlessly. He's given us some very memorable quotes about when the team plays like crap, he's not he doesn't mince words, and doesn't hesitate when saying that afterwards. And there's also during the Geisterspiel era, when he was talking about having to play in empty stadiums, made no secret of the fact that he couldn't stand it. So you see Diaby, who digs out a corner.
Oh, yeah. Some really good wing play as well by Leverkusen at times today. I think Diaby's been quality. Tabsoba, as you say, is really... His form has been fantastic in recent weeks, and it's great. I agree with you, Peter. It's a player that I'm really, really happy to see recover, because at times this season his form has been woeful as well. At times, especially when the chips were down, he was absolutely dreadful, along with Jonathan Tah as well at times, let's be honest. And 2 players who are highly rated as well. Tah's a funny one, though. Tah is just, I don't know, like, he's a player that at one time seemed like the world was at his feet, didn't it? But he's never quite gone to that next level. That's his problem. Just as the corner comes in, which is actually quite well defended by Union. But yeah, well, what would you make of Jonathan Tah? A strange player, really, isn't he, Peter?
Well, I mean, there was that double disaster in the 2020-21 campaign. You recall that he made several mistakes in the embarrassing German national team loss to Spain in the Nation League. It was actually the loss that sealed the fate of Joachim Löw, when we realized that put pressure on him to eventually tender his resignation. And he also made that critical mistake against Lewandowski in the league match, and Leverkusen up to that time were playing very well. So he struggled with his confidence for 2 long years, I would have to say. I mean, he was an excellent prospect. At one point in time, he was considered the natural successor to Jerome Boateng on the German national team. Same type of player, same skill set, same physical build, and so on and so forth. But I mean, he struggled woefully with his confidence after the disastrous year that he had for club and country, and has never really fully recovered. I hate to see him leave German football. It's not a bad cleanup from him there. But I think that he might be better served to continue his career elsewhere, if I'm honest about it.
Where would you imagine him to go though? Like, because he to me, he's like a Bundesliga stalwart in many ways. Like at this stage in his career, it's a big move to go abroad and learn a different style of football, I guess.
Well, he signed on with Zahavi, Lewandowski's agent, so he'll find a place for him. That's
probably a decent move. I still think he's got the potential to maybe. I think possibly Premier League teams might fancy him because of his physical build and things like that. You know, and he does have some skills. Also, some great play there by Baka, who's actually had a really good start to the game as well. Like, he's another one though, Baka. Like he's really up and down in form as well, isn't he, Baka? Like at times he looks amazing. At other times you think, how's this guy even professional? It's like, you know what I mean, though?
Yeah, no, it's they're openly searching for an upgrade for Baka, and they have been for quite some time. It was actually this past autumn that Goossens was nearly brought in. Robert was brought in to replace him, and they were ready to ship Baka out. But in the rumor mills and the transfer market, it's no real secret that they're seeking an upgrade to Baka at left wing back. Of course, they may have the larger problem of replacing Frimpong as well on the other side this coming off season. I think you raised an excellent point about how you could just see Jonathan Tah playing in the Premiership. He looks like a Premiership defender. He looks like a Premiership center back. He really does. And with his physical, he could be the next Per Mertesacker, the big German.
The BFG, the BFG, the big. That was. Did you ever hear that chant, Peter? That
of course. I was at the Emirates, and I heard that chant for the first time, and I thought they were talking about me. And I'm like, what? I'm just 6 foot. What the hell are you? What And they were, and I realized they were talking about Per Mertesacker.
He was a cult hero, though, Mertesacker. He was, He's supposedly a really nice guy as well. I actually know a guy who knows him in person, surprisingly. Yeah, but he really says he's a nice guy, Mertesacker. He's an Arsenal fan, and somehow he got acquainted with him because the guy was living in Germany. He's a British guy, and I think he ended up meeting him at the Adidas headquarters in Herzogenaurach or something like that. And they ended up getting acquainted with each other. Yeah. And he said he was a great bloke, Per Mertesacker. Yeah. It's,
do we have a substitution here? Is this a tactical move or was there an injury? I didn't quite.
Yeah. No, I think it's Vertessen has gone off.
It must be an injury then.
Yeah. It looked like an injury to me. Yeah.
Okay. That's a great story. He's coaching the Arsenal youth at the moment?
He is now again. Yeah. He ended up making himself a bit of a cult hero over there. Over in the UK. Yeah, it's he was one of not many Arsenal legends made in the last 10 years, really, because most people consider Arsenal to have been a club on the decline before this season. Obviously, they've had an amazing season this year, but like the fans always held him in really, really high regard.
Well, he's, also a German national team hero. It was during the 2014 World Cup after that close round of 16 tie with Algeria, the famous night that Manuel Neuer, the sweeper keeper, was born. That Mertesacker gave a sort of okay, a little bit of loose marking there by Chapier.
Oh geez, that was weak.
Weak. Indeed. Well, anyway, he might have been slightly offside. If he kept him on side.
He's supposed to be their danger man as well, as you mentioned before. Boniface, but he's not really done anything so far, has he? The big Nigerian centre forward. Sorry, what were you saying again, Peter?
Oh, we could talk about Per Mertesacker all night long. He gave that famous, interview with are you not entertained? I don't understand your questions and everything like that. Because so many people at that point in the tournament were very, very skeptical of the German team. Back four with four center backs and how lost Mesut Özil was looking and how Manuel Neuer had to come out there and bail the team out and everything like that. Mertesacker gave that interview, and then of course, as we all know, the German national team after that point in the 2014 tournament became maybe one of the greatest international sides ever. So that famous cult interview that he gave, Per Mertesacker did, that post-match interview, was often cited by players in the locker room as a turning, when the team really rallied around, one another, each other, I should say, and began to play like the best international, best national team ever in the remaining stages of the tournament. So he's a hero in Germany.
I remember that Algeria game. Like most people obviously remember the Brazil game from that tournament, don't they? But
Indeed.
As a hardcore fan, I also remember that Algeria game. It was a fantastic game of football, actually, and I'm pretty sure Algeria will never have played a better game of football than that in their history, to be honest, because they were very unlucky not to win the game that night, to be honest. Is that another injury as well from SG?
Well, I was looking at the live ticker here. I don't even see a substitution recorded. So
well, let's have a look.
I don't believe if there was.
Oh no, there has, yeah. So Vitesse went off and Adingra came on, and I'm not sure if there's going to be another sub as well potentially here. So interesting.
It's not very common at all that the live ticker misses a substitution.
Yeah, definitely. It's
the case that, as is sometimes the case with, and this is have you ever written minute by minute? Sometimes you get double booked.
Yeah.
Two matches at the same time. Which can be tough. It's hard enough with one sometimes when it really gets rolling. There's a very nice defensive shield from that was Frimpong. Back to the hard work.
Yeah, brilliant from Frimpong there. Yeah, but I'm going to be honest with you. My view on SG so far is that they're a bit of a long ball side. To be honest, you said you watched them a lot more than me, Peter. But that's my view so far. That they just seem to be trying to hit it long up to Boniface up top, and they're not really getting that much joy.
That is on the trail, Baka 2-0.
Oh, what a goal! That's a classic Leverkusen goal. Isn't it?
Brilliant counter. Yeah, no, you're right. There's a lot of hit and hope, I should say, for Belgian hosts on this evening. And
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm going to go out there and say, on this performance, I'm not sure how the Belgian hosts have got this far, to be honest, because I've not been impressed with them at all. I think Leverkusen have been brilliant. Like, they've completely and utterly deserved that 2-0 lead. They've been by far the better side. Another well-worked goal, but I mean, I don't know whether it's a case of Union SG just kind of bottling this game. Obviously, it was a big chance for them to get into a historic semi-final, but so far they've just done absolutely nothing to impress me. And Leverkusen have defended really well actually, but it's been too easy at times, hasn't it?
What a counter that was! Just
that was lovely. That
gorgeous switch over from Lotzek and Bakker there on the trail.
He's classy Bakker. I'm actually quite a fan of him, as I said before, but that was a good finish. It was a confident finish and fantastic goal on the counter.
Was brilliant. That was, I mean, look at that chip right over there on his, I think was his third touch. Xabi is quite excited, and he deserves to be. It's nice to, I mean, another reason that Germans are kind of rooting for Leverkusen, not only in Europe, but they're not. There's a little bit more interest in them in the league this year, is because of Xabi. He is, of course, our only non-native German-speaking head coach in the league at the moment. We have our Swiss coaches, we have our Austrian coaches, but it's actually somewhat rare for non-native German speakers to be working. And Xabi is, yes, we most certainly want to see him succeed. As there. Okay, good defending from Bakker there. As a matter of fact, having a nice match on both sides of the ball. Love the press off the ball there from Wirtz there. Excellent win. We could have another counter developing here. It is Lotzek over to, I believe, Frimpong, slip past Diaby, or I got that backwards. should have and arguably could have been 3-0 on that rush there. Yeah.
Superb this from Leverkusen. Yeah.
All right.
Superb.
Let's do it, Vax Elf. Let's do it, Factory 11. Let's do it for the Bundesrepublik.
Yeah. And obviously, if they do win this game, which they're looking in pretty good position to do that now, they would play the winner of Feyenoord against AS Roma as well, which I think if they play Feyenoord, there's not much of a different distance between Leverkusen and Rotterdam, I wouldn't imagine. So that's going to be one hell of a tie. I think I don't actually have the score. Let me just check the score for you guys of the encounter. It's actually 0-0 and 1-0 to Feyenoord overall. So yeah, Feyenoord are heading through, but obviously a long way to go in that one yet. But we could potentially have a Germany-Netherlands semi-final, which would be quite interesting. I think obviously Feyenoord are really, really partisan club, aren't they? They say, a lot of people told me that Feyenoord is one of the best atmospheres in Europe. Have you ever been over there, Peter?
Not to Rotterdam. I've attended some football matches in Amsterdam and in Delft, but no, I've never even been to Rotterdam. Have you?
No, but I've actually got a good friend who's a fan of Feyenoord. Actually, he's a British guy, but he moved over there a few years ago, and he ended up becoming a season ticket holder at Feyenoord. So.
I've covered matches in that arena. For German teams facing them in the Europa League, and it is a fantastic atmosphere. It rivals some of the best German ultra groups in the Bundesrepublik. So, on the to-do list there, that would certainly be an excellent tie there in the in the semis. That would.
Yeah. And another watch-along for us, Peter. So, yeah, hopefully the European watch-along journey is going to continue. I
would imagine that Germans. With Leverkusen here in the quarters, Germans are keeping a little bit of an eye on this. If the Red Company team makes it to the semis, the Germans they'll certainly be behind them. I mean, last year when you had Frankfurt and Leipzig in the semis, no one cared about Leipzig. No one, absolutely no one cared. Progression through there, and but this is if they can make the semis. It will be an event within German footballing circles. It most certainly will be. That I can guarantee.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be a huge tie. Obviously Germany and the Netherlands have you would say more of a friendly rivalry nowadays, wouldn't you? So,
as a German, who wrapping one's tongue around Dutch is so tricky.
I mean, it's a strange language. Dutch.
I do. I try. I mean, when I'm on the train, or when I'm visiting Holland or something like that. I mean, I try. I try to polish off some of my Dutch, recalling that one of the key things is that I need to think how the vowel would be pronounced in German, and then reverse it. So it's actually for Germans, when you're meeting Hollanders in your travels, we both give it a shot. We know, I mean, our languages are similar and we can kind of understand. I mean, I can understand a little bit of Dutch when if I'm driving in the Netherlands, as I was actually last time I was over in Europe and listening to Dutch radio. I mean, there's you can sort of you can wrap your head, you can get the general gist of what they're talking about. And so, it's interesting for Germans and Hollanders to meet, also in the context of, football matches and whatnot. We try to speak one another's languages, even if we have no formal training in them, just as a means as a learning experience. So,
yeah. But Dutch does sound very funny, though. Really, it's like if you listen to two Dutch guys speaking, it's like, as you mentioned, like the words are similar to German, but the actual sound is completely different. Really, that's at least the way I see it.
I mean, it's really you just the reason that it's a fun exercise is because you take you're trying to reverse everything that you know about your own native tongue, particularly, as I said, when it comes to the vowels, and that's why we do it. I mean, it's just not possible to resist a chance to talk with a Dutchman or woman when you're over there in Holland, because you want to see. I mean, you want to see how close you can get, and they want to see as well. Germans refer to Dutch as goofy German. The Dutch refer to German as goofy Dutch. That's just the
way. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it is surprising. I saw some Dutch written down, and you can definitely see there's a lot of similar words to the German as well. But as I mentioned, it's a sound that's completely different. Like if it's like as we mentioned, our favorite Augsburg defender, Huvelev. Yeah, like this is just crazy. Sorry, I probably butchered that pronunciation because Dutch is just beyond me, really. Yeah,
Havaleo.
I kind of said it more like a kind of mixture of Dutch and Russian or something.
I thought it sounded awesome. I thought it was an excellent effort, really. And that's actually it's probably a halfway decent pronunciation. Yeah. So Havaleo means golden lion. In German, that would be Goldene Löwe. So Havaleo, Goldene Löwe. You can see how similar they are, sort of.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's but obviously they don't say the G like in German in the same way.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. You have to reverse the vowels. You have to sometimes keep in mind that the consonants are silent, and then if there's multiple vowels in a word, then just let it roll off of your tongue, like the German the Dutch word for street, Straat.
It's but I guess Danish as well. Danish has some similarities to German as well, right?
They say so. I personally find Danish very, very difficult. I think that, of course, I'm from southern Germany. Danish is a little bit more closely related to the Hanseatic dialects of the German.
Plattdeutsch, Plattdeutsch.
Well, Plattdeutsch just means that's the same as Umgangssprache. I mean that just means sort of the inverse of Hochdeutsch. That could mean any dialect, really.
Yeah.
But it's a little closer to. I mean, people who grew up in Schleswig-Holstein, for example, can readily understand a lot of Danish. But I'm from the Pfalz, with a family from Baden-Württemberg. So, I mean, I'm not quite familiar with the northern dialects very much. This was an excellent first half from our German rep.
Superb. Yeah, I thought it was pretty much a perfect half. Just as the halftime whistle does blow, and it's 2-0 to Bayer Leverkusen. Fantastic first half. Obviously, a very, very early goal, just on the 1 minute mark from Diaby, capitalizing on a mistake. Couple of mistakes, actually, in the defense by Lehmann and my man Burgess as well. But it was still a good finish, though. He took it round the goalkeeper and slid in from a pretty tight angle for 1-0. Then Leverkusen had a few other chances as well. I think Bakker put in that brilliant ball, which probably should have been converted by someone in front of the goal. And then the second goal was a really, really good counter-attack, again, led by Wirtz, spread out to Hlodzek. And then Hlodzek brilliantly put the ball in for that man Bakker, who's been brilliant tonight as well, to convincingly finish for 2-0. And I'm going to be honest with you, can you remember SG having a single chance, Peter, really?
Nope. Defending has been solid as well. I think that Tapsoba has had an excellent game. Ta has had a couple of good ball shields. I mean, there was that case where the marking from Hincapie on Boniface was loose. But the Nigerian might have been offside anyway. So
and he didn't really get a proper chance in. Really, the keeper was straight off the line to prevent it. But brilliant first half, looking good for the Bundesliga. Again, the Europa League's becoming the Bundesliga tournament, isn't it? In the last couple of years, obviously after Frankfurt famously winning it last year, and on this form, few would say that Leverkusen can't challenge as well, because I think Man United are behind currently as well against Seville. So, they probably be the biggest threat for me to Leverkusen. I probably have Leverkusen second favourites at the moment, to be honest, because, I would fancy them against Roma or Feyenoord, to be honest. I believe that they would have a little bit more quality in the side than both of those teams. Obviously, Roma do have Mourinho, but that basically just means defensive, turgid football, really, doesn't it? And
what does that mean at this point? I mean,
But it looks as though Feyenoord might just have enough to hold out there, because I mean they've not managed to score in a game and a half. So hopefully, I would like to see a Feyenoord Leverkusen semi-final. I think that'd be really exciting, to be honest, for me. But if Man United get knocked out too, then you'd be looking at potentially a Seville Juventus semi-final as well. But this isn't the same Juventus side of years gone by. So, who knows? I mean, Leverkusen, things are looking pretty good for them at the moment. And I think definitely it's realistic that they can win the Europa League. Yeah. So, I just wanted to, just at halftime, I just wanted to go through a few, obviously, tips for the ahead of the weekend, obviously, because we're already on Thursday evening, aren't we? So, obviously, the first game of the weekend actually starts tomorrow, which is a massive game, one of the biggest games of the weekend, actually. And it's that game, the South German derby, the Schwaben derby as well, between the Bavarian Schwabens of Augsburg and the Schwabens of Stuttgart. So, I mean, this is a really hard one to predict, because obviously Stuttgart have got the form behind them now, really good form since Sebastian Hoeneß overtook the side. Augsburg, on the other hand, have just self-destructed, basically, haven't they? They've been poor for weeks, really, now, shipping goals left, right and centre. They still remain a goal threat. They usually score this season, Augsburg, and often score 2 in defeat. But the defence has been woeful in recent weeks. And, obviously, goalkeeper Gilloise has gone off form as well after he'd had a really, really good season for long periods. I think I'm actually going to go for a shock away win here for Stuttgart. I just think, even though it's Friday night, Augsburg, we know that Augsburg love these Friday night games, especially at home. I just believe that Stuttgart can nick the win tomorrow. I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win. What do you think, Peter?
I think Gilloise is still out, last I heard, and I don't know if Berisha is going to be available. I don't think so. Without Merg and Berisha in the lineup, the Fugerstädter have real problems scoring goals. I think the good news is that they get Demirovic back from suspension finally this week. So that'll help Enrico Maassen out on the left-hand side. In the most recent column, I covered some innovative tactics from Maassen that he tried in the most recent match. Unfortunately, did not do very well. His 4-4-2 is not working without its regular actors, and he tried a 5-4-1 that only lasted less than a half against Leipzig. Leipzig absolutely tore them apart last week. I agree with you. It's going to be an away win for Stuttgart, 1-0. That would be my tip.
Yeah, then another really big game as well in the Pfalz, actually, as well. Obviously in Rhineland-Pfalz between Mainz 05 and struggling Bayern Munich. It's not often we can talk about them as a struggling side, but definitely at the moment. Yeah, I mean, this is one of their trickiest fixtures. Obviously a side now who are out of the Pokal, out of the Champions League. They're only 2 points clear in the Bundesliga. They had a very disappointing draw at home against Hoffenheim, where they just looked completely demotivated, really, in that fixture last weekend. They're going to have to be a lot better than that if they want to get even a point against Mainz, because, Mainz are unbeaten in 9-10 games now. They've not been winning in recent weeks, but they've still been playing well. They've been drawing quite a lot of games, late goals conceded, which is a bit frustrating for both Svensson's men. But for me, Ajorque just keeps getting better and better. He's been absolutely superb. So many good players in Onisivo, Ingvarts, and they have that goal threat, and then also that tenacity in midfield through the likes of Stach. And I just think that I've just got a funny feeling that Mainz are going to do it. I don't know why. I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win and even more crisis for the Bavarians.
I think that's an excellent tip, as a matter of fact. Bayern really are struggling. They are in crisis. There's no denying that now. After what we saw from them last weekend against Hoffenheim, they're going to have real difficulty climbing their way out of this hole. They seem to be perpetually digging themselves deeper in this hole. As you mentioned, Bo Svensson's Rheinhessen are undefeated in 9. Ajorque is a player that we can't stop talking about. He was the best transfer of the winter window. Just the way he holds the ball up, and now he's finishing as well, getting some goals. Onisiwo and Ingvartsen have been trading places behind Ajorque due to injury. I don't think that that's going to matter all that much. I think that so long as Stach is also working as a buttressing attacker, The Feyenoord will run like a well-purring or well-oiled engine. I think would probably be the more apt metaphor. I don't think. I think I'll go for a 2-2 draw. But I think that you really have made a logical and rational upset tip there. It's possible that will come to pass.
Yeah, but even a draw really isn't enough for Bayern. You know, they need to start winning games again if they want to win the title. Because I don't think, despite Dortmund's, let's be honest, it was a disaster for them last week. I don't think they're going to fall away. I just think it was one bad day for them. It was a poorly managed game, really poorly managed game. And if they lose the league by 1 or 2 points, they'll look back at that afternoon in Stuttgart as the reason why they didn't win the league. But I don't think it makes them a poor side all of a sudden just because of that. But we'll come to them in a minute. Yeah. So then we've got a kind of, I wouldn't say a relegation fight anymore because it's both two teams that are probably going to stay up now, Hoffenheim and FC Köln. You know, two sides who probably not really had good seasons. I would say Köln, considering their squad, they've actually done okay because I think they've got one of the weakest squads in the league, in my opinion. And I think obviously they've had European football after that amazing year under Steffen Baumgart last year where they broke all odds and qualified for Europe. But I just think Hoffenheim have got the bit between the teeth at the moment. You know, they got 3 wins straight, then a very gritty point away at Bayern last week. And they'll know that a win here and they'll be like 90% safe, let's say that much. And I think they will get the home win against hopefully another boosted crowd in Sinsheim. The last 2 or 3 crowds have been a lot better, which is good to see. And I think we'll see another good crowd there tomorrow and I'm on Saturday. And I think I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win there. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the goal differential. I think that Hoffenheim have proven goal scorers at this point. Köln do not, even if they exploded just a couple of weeks back to score some. I'll go 2-0 win with either Bebu, Baumgartner, or possibly Kramaric taking a brace.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Then a really big game, really, for Bochum at home against Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg just... They've kind of petered out to being a classic mid-table side, to be honest with you, for me, and which isn't really good enough under Kovac. And, you know, they'll probably be wondering whether they want to give him a second season, in truth, because, you know, a team with that kind of budget and quality will expect to qualify for Europe, at least the Conference League. And at times this season, they did look really good, especially when we first came back after the break. They were hammering teams, weren't they? They beat... but obviously the Nemecha brothers have done well, but they've kind of faded off in recent weeks. Jonas Wind hasn't really done it for me this season since he's come back, which is disappointing because I really liked him at the back end of last season when they signed him. But yeah, this has got the kind of game that, you know, it's a much bigger game for Bochum, and you've got a feeling that home advantage might just tell it. I would go for a 1-0 home win, I think, here for Bochum.
That's my exact scoreline as well. Niko Kovac's tactical mismanagement is so grating. I cover it as much as I can in the tactics column. This week, I didn't have time to cover it in the tactics column, so I filed it in my Americans in the Bundesliga column. For no reason. I mean, I had an excuse because Kevin Paredes was on the pitch. So I am just fed up with Niko Kovac's tactics. I'm tired of it. He's really mismanaging what is an otherwise strong squad. I don't think he'll get a second year. 1-0 Bochum. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, which would obviously be a massive win for the home side as well if they can get that. And then talking of big games, there's one at the Olympiastadion as well between Hertha and, again, Werder. They're a funny side because I don't think they've been playing that badly, especially against Freiburg last week. They were very good in periods. But what the problem with Werder at the moment is that they have 10 really bad minutes and they get punished for it. That's the problem. And it's like the 3rd or 4th game in a row that's happened to them where they've conceded back-to-back goals in a short space of time. And I think I am a little bit not really worried about them because I think they'll still stay up. They've got enough quality and fight in there to stay up. But this is a game that really they will want to win this and get to 35 points. But I'm not sure that they'll do that because I just think, you know, obviously Pal Dardai's first game in charge is going to be a big event. You know, the fans love him. He's a big character. And this is the kind of game that Hertha have to win. This is truly a must-win. I think if they lose this, you might as well say goodbye to Hertha Berlin for me. Obviously, depending on how other results go. I just think they'll nick a 2-1 home win here, Hertha. I don't know why, but I just think they will.
We line up yet again. I think 2-1 is an excellent prediction. Rory and I talked a lot about both these teams on the Monday pod. Sadly, you couldn't join us because of the tooth issue, but you were in the comments section. Appreciate that. Pal Dardai is it's just been a joy to cover him since he's returned to Hertha. Unfortunately, I haven't had time to cover as much as I might have liked to. Niklas Stark, the former Hertha defender, gave an interview in the Thursday print edition of Germany's Kicker magazine, and I wanted to do a translation for Bully News, but I just ran out of time, in which he said, Pal Dardai is a crazy coach. He tells you that you need to improve, but he never tells you how. You have to figure that out for yourself. I think 2-1's a great tip. I think we're going to see some new tactics from Dardai that are going to work, and Bremen are going to keep it competitive. I think Füllkrug is still out, so 2-1's a tip. Yeah,
which would make it really interesting at the bottom if we get so many wins for bottom 6 sides, wouldn't it? But then obviously more towards the top of the table, we got a late Saturday evening kickoff, BVB against Frankfurt. I think a few months ago you would have said this is going to be a title match potentially, but I mean, what Frankfurt have delivered this last 2 months has just been absolutely catastrophic in truth, and I just think their season's over now. Really, the Conference League just simply isn't going to excite them enough to really spark a push really for me to try and get into or even the Europa League, because they'll still want to get in the Europa League, but I'm not sure they can motivate themselves enough. I think that their only goal now is to win the Pokal, as far as I'm concerned, really. But I think, this has got to be a comfortable win for the home side. Again, I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win for Dortmund here.
We've talked so much about how little Frankfurt have to play for. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, Glasner could, shake up his starting 11. There could be players with a lot to play for, like Ibimbe, like my new American, Paxton Aronson, who had a very nice debut off of the bench last week. So it's a difficult one to call, but I think that it's quite possible that Glasner will fill up his 11 with motivated players, not players who are leaving after the season, not players who are playing just trying to avoid injury. It's probably the most difficult one to tip out of all of them, because you just don't know what that Frankfurt 11 is going to look like. But I think Dortmund take care of business. As you pointed out, it wasn't a poor match against Stuttgart. They just had some really rotten luck. And we talked a lot about that on Monday's pod as well. So I say Dortmund take care of business 2-0.
Yeah. Then moving on to Sunday game again, we've got 3 matches on Sunday. The first one, Freiburg-Schalke, again, a big game, a game that both teams will feel they have to try and win this one, really. Because I think obviously Freiburg, if they want to get in the top 4, this has got to be a bread and butter win, really. They slipped up against Hertha a couple of weeks ago with a draw, which was really poor. But then again, they weren't great against Werder, but I thought it was a really professional performance, to win that game, because it's not an easy place to go away to Werder, and to win that game. In the end, it was a really good goal from Höller as well, a header. I thought it was a beautiful header to win the game. But again, Schalke, coming on the back of a 5-2 win over Hertha, that they're starting to play a bit of decent football as well now, Schalke. They've come out of the shell a little bit, but my big fear for them is the fact that Schwolow is back in there. Because I'm going to be honest with you, he's not someone that's high on my rating list, let's say that much. I think the fact that Feyenoord has got injured is rotten luck for Schalke, because he was brilliant since he came back into the side in January. I'm afraid I'm going to go for a Freiburg win. I don't think it'll be easy for them, but I think they'll nick a 2-1 win here.
I'll go 2-0 Freiburg, and at least one Schwolow error. He's talking big, but I don't. Well, we have to see it on the pitch from him. His career is totally tanked since he left Freiburg for Hertha a few years back, and he's playing. He really has to come through for his team, and I don't think he's going to do so. With Schalke, we have so many injuries, just so many injuries. I think it's 2-0 Freiburg here, unfortunately for the Königsblauen.
Yeah, just as the game has kicked off for the second half, but we'll just go through these last two games as well because they're pretty important ones. So the Leverkusen versus Leipzig. I guess again, this is one that on paper looks really good, but it depends on like how motivated these teams are. Like because obviously by the look of it, Leverkusen are going to be in the semi-final. Touch wood here of the Europa League, which is 100% going to be their priority going into the rest of the season. Leipzig, it's more important for them that they win because they need to get top four to salvage the season, really. Although they are still in the Pokal, let's be honest, But again, Marco Rosa is under a little bit of pressure and he needs to get that top four, I would say. So I'm actually going to go for an away win. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Leipzig win. I don't think the game will live up to expectation here because I think Leverkusen might rotate a little bit and take a few players out. I think Leipzig might just get the win 1-0 there for me.
Yeah, that's. I'll tip 1-1 a draw because I think that the Leverkusen is going to be heavily rotated, and I don't expect that Timo Werner is going to be able to replicate his performance from last week. Consistency is not his thing, at least not yet. Be a pleasant surprise to see him do so, but I think that he really overperformed and overachieved last week. And this week he'll get caught offside 5-6 times. It's him and Sadio Mane or just left lane attackers that cannot seem to stay onside. And so,
this season anyway, this season definitely.
Precisely. So 1-1.
Yeah, and then the final game is obviously Gladbach versus Union. Yeah, again, Gladbach probably. I would say there are probably two complete mid-table teams with nothing to play for really now, and that's Wolfsburg and Gladbach, really. I think Gladbach have been decent in recent weeks, actually. I think they were very good last week, really, against Frankfurt. It was a dogged performance against the Frankfurt side who do have better personnel on the pitch, let's be honest, than them. And they were unlucky. They were very close to winning that game. It was a late equaliser from Kolo Muani. Mm-hmm. I just think this is maybe the hardest one to tip for me, actually, because Union, obviously it's a much bigger game for them, but I was really disappointed with them last week against Bochum. Like, that was a game that they had to be winning if they wanted to get top four, and I just didn't think they really took control of it, and they were just wishy-washy for me. They got that really good free kick from Juranovic, but then after they didn't really deserve that lead even at that time. And then they should have gone on to win the game like they normally do when they go 1-0 ahead, and they still didn't. And in the end, we're probably kind of lucky to even get a point, despite the miss from Behrens very late on. But I just think this is a hard one. I think I'm actually going to go for a 1-0 Gladbach. I don't know why. I think it'll be 1-0 either way, this one. I don't think it'll be a pretty game of football, to be honest. But I'm going to go for a 1-0 Gladbach. I don't really know why I'm saying that, but I think they will just nick it.
I know why you're saying it, and that's because Union did. I mean, they were poor for long stretches there. Actually, Wes Fischer tried some tactical tinkering. He got him out of the 3-5-2 for a little while there against Bochum, and we saw the poor results of that. Yeah, sadly, looks like a 0-0 capper for me. It'll be a quiet end to what I hope will be another fantastic match day in the German top flight, but. It has the feel of a 0-0 affair. It really does. Yeah,
low scoring at least. Yeah, definitely. But just as Gilloise, they have started the second half pretty well. By the way, the young man Boniface has started getting involved in the game a little bit more, and obviously they're going to want to go out on a high, even if they do lose this game. They've had an amazing run to the quarterfinal against all odds, but they didn't do themselves justice in that first half at all, despite how good Leverkusen were and how well they controlled the game. But I do expect we'll see a little bit of pressure from them second half, Peter.
Indeed. Been keeping an eye on that as we've finished up our tips for the weekend. They have had, I would say, 3 half chances in the 6 minutes of action after the restart. But of course they are taking more risks. And we've already seen this match, how perfectly the Werkself can execute a counter. So the games should be open up, should be an entertaining conclusion. And I would imagine that we're going to have a 3-0 victory for Leverkusen here, based on what I'm seeing here. I think tactically there's also something a little bit interesting going on with Leverkusen that I didn't quite catch before. I think that Andrich is running the midfield as a solo 6. It kind of looks that way. So this is kind of a, what is this? A 3-4, no, a 3-1, 4-2 maybe, yeah. With Schlotzeck and Wirtz maybe working as a short striker. That's what I'm thinking at the moment from Leverkusen tactically. Kind of hard to tell because, of course, we're having such a nice conversation about various things. But that's kind of what it looks like, because Andrich is operating a lot on, possession-wise, particularly on the builds, on what appears to be a solo axis. So that might be Xabi's game plan here. And, yeah, on the latest Leverkusen build, it looks like that might be the case as well. Okay.
He was a little bit fortunate as well to get away with not giving a free kick away on the edge of the area there, Andrich. Yeah, it was 50-50, I would say. Obviously, the Gilloise striker really furious he wasn't given a free kick just outside the area there. The game is heating up a little bit. You can tell that Union, they definitely want to go out on a high in the home side, and they are starting to get a bit, surrounding the referee a little bit, feeling as though a few decisions are going against them, but. It's. I still think Leverkusen look fully in control, though. As Peter mentioned, they were only really half chances that the home side had. But the trouble with Leverkusen is that if SG do get a goal, then you would worry about them a little bit. That's one of the problems with Leverkusen. They're not known to be a side with great mental strength, which hopefully could change under Xabi. Because obviously it's still very early days in his reign, and his reign is progressing very, very nicely so far. Nobody can deny that. But hopefully he can change that mentality. Obviously a lot of people call them Neverkusen. That's obviously being a kind of joke that's been, obviously thrown around at them for always finishing second place. But, the Europa League's a big deal for them. If they can win the Europa League, it'll probably be their biggest ever trophy, I would imagine, Peter.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, there was the Champions League final side. That was that, of course, will always go down in history. I mean, we would be really truly spoiled, us Germans, if we had 2 Europa League winners in a row after the quarter of a century that we waited following the Schalke Eurofighter squad. That was back when it was called the UEFA Cup. Kind of missed that name. Really, I missed the Cup Winners' Cup too. That was the best name. That was a great competition. It really was. I wonder. I guess we can't have it anymore now that we got the Conference League. It's yeah. Well, you never know. I mean, with Leverkusen, I mean, guys like Ta and Tapsoba, I mean, they're in strong form again. Wouldn't put a defensive error past either one of them. At any given point. I mean, that's of course that can happen for any defender on any given day. We watched Dayo Upamecano give away 3 goals on our last watch-along last week, despite the fact
he wasn't much better. He wasn't much better last night either. Let's be honest.
Very true. Yeah. So I mean, any defender can have mental lapses in his game, and all of a sudden have confidence issues that snowball and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think. Now it looks like we're definitely in a back 5 from Leverkusen in protection of the lead. Sensible enough. Might lead to a little bit of slowing up in this fixture here, which we wouldn't like. Like them to just go ahead and close it out here. I mean, a 3-0 lead would effectively slow it up. That's all you really need.
I think for a team like Leverkusen, attack is the best form of defense, if you know what I mean. Because as I mentioned, I think they've been very, very good defensively. In fact, I can't really remember seeing them better, more consistent defensively than I've seen them in the first 56 minutes of this game, to be honest. But the thing is, they're one of those teams who are a little bit like Arsenal in England. I just never trust them to see out a game comfortably. You can't the weight of the club's history sometimes weighs on the players' shoulders, you feel. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel as though they've never managed to cultivate that winning mentality by Leverkusen. And I just think they've always had good players. And up to this day, this is one of the finest squads they've had probably in a number of years, in truth. But can they see out this game? And SG are fighting now, but again, good defending there to win to stop it for a corner there.
Actually, did it come off? On the second, right. Oh, that was a good recovery tackle from Frimpong there. He's putting in a good game, I think, on both sides of the ball. He's obviously auditioning for a larger transfer this offseason, as is Bakker on the other side. Yeah, I think we're definitely in a back five now, which is somewhat disappointing because you saw on the play that preceded that build that Leverkusen were having trouble getting a counter rolling, and you see it again here. All you have is Diaby and Wirtz operating deep. So yeah, they're blanket defending now and protection of this lead, which I don't think is the strategy that you should be going for at this point in the match. At this point in the match, you should definitely be looking to close it out with that third goal.
Yeah, I would totally agree. As you mentioned, Leverkusen, one of the best, if not the best, counter-attacking team in the Bundesliga as well. So, a team, as we saw with that second goal as well, a fantastic counter move. But they've not been as good in the second half, especially with the ball, although they do have the ball through Frimpong here, who's just completely skinned the fullback. He's going to get the ball in. Oh, what was that? The finish, though, from... who was it that ended up getting on the end of that? It was brilliant from Frimpong. He just completely took the fullback out of the game, didn't he? But
yeah, absolutely. I think it was Amiri.
Whoever finished that was not on the best day. Was it Andrik who ended up getting on the end of it?
I think it was Amiri. It might have been Andrik.
Yeah.
We got a double substitution coming up now. It'll be Kerem Demirbay. Yeah, Amiri coming off on his last action of the game there. And Demirbay and Kosunu entering for... who's he going to come on for? Probably one of the defenders on a straight like for like, just freshening up the legs here. No real tactical shift that I can see. Although on this particular,
Tapsoba incredibly has gone.
Was it Tapsoba? Yeah. Well, he's saved some legs for the league. Put in a good performance tonight. He did. Let's see what we got here.
A little bit confused why he's been taken off, though. I mean, didn't seem any immediate reason. I mean, you don't want to be changing your defenders at this stage of the game. A few questionable tactical decisions so far this second half from Jabi, but as you mentioned, not really any major problems. I'm not sure really from what I've seen whether SG really have enough quality really to kind of challenge them in truth. I've just not been overly impressed with the home side at all this game. They look just like a kind of championship English team in truth from what I've seen so far. Like they have a little bit of quality on the wings, but just a couple of big centre halves. Burgess, he's as English as it gets, basically. Like he's just absolutely pulled someone down there as well for a free kick. And I've not been overly impressed with him in truth. I've not been that impressed with SG at all, really, in truth. But they're still in the game. Like they've thrown caution to the wind in the second half. They pushed a few men further forward, and
Well, I think.
It's unbelievable error. Talk us through it, Peter. But it looks as though Leverkusen are going into the last four.
I don't think. Yeah, you don't at this level, at any level. I don't think you see that at Sunday League level.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I was just saying that I've not been impressed with the home side, and I think that's just the final straw, really, from them.
I don't think you're gonna. Right. Yeah. What in the hell? Yeah, Jeremy Frimpong will never be handed a ball on a silver platter like that ever again in his career. That is unbelievable. That is simply unbelievable to see that happen. It was was it? No. Burgess with a dangerous back pass to the keeper. Keeper turns it directly over to a wide open.
To be honest, though, I actually think Burgess. What is Burgess doing there, giving it back to the keeper? He's had an absolute. I was looking forward to watching Burgess tonight, to be honest, because I've never seen him play before, and he's been getting quite a lot of talk in the English media, but he's been awful tonight, to be honest.
Well, that was a venomous press from Bakker on both Burgess and
it was
and on the keeper. So credit to him for that. I don't even know why. Is the keeper English too? No, he just has.
I don't think so. No,
his name is Anthony Morris, but so he has an English name, but he's.
Is he? Maybe he is. I don't know.
No, no. It's possible that he's. I mean, that could just be a angle.
It looks like, I think in English it would be double R. We'd have two R's if it was the English name. It's probably like a French or Belgian French name, I would
Yeah. Well, what a venomous press from Bakker there. He really deserves the credit for the goal. Frimpong can do dance. It was a nice goal celebration from Frimpong there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But to be fair, both of them have been superb. Bakker, as you mentioned, like maybe he does fancy a big move. I don't know, but he's been very good tonight. As I've mentioned, Bakker is, for me, he's one of the most up and down players I've ever seen play in a long time. Like he can either look like a real quality fullback and just terrorize defenders, or he can look absolute like. As I mentioned before, how's the guy even a pro? Because like, when he's bad, he can be absolutely abject, can't he, at times? But tonight, he's been really, really good, and credit to him. It's I still think there's a place for him in the Bundesliga, to be honest with you. I think someone like Wolfsburg or Gladbach could do worse than him, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you don't really know that Leverkusen wants to upgrade with him. I mean, he's like it's the same thing with Bayern's defenders, Pavard and. What happened, Mark? Did you? Wow, we might have lost Mark temporarily. All alone I am. Well, until Mark gets back, I'll answer his question. The players such as Benjamin Pavard and Joe Cancelo. I lost you, Mark. I was all alone.
Sorry, my internet crashed for some reason. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm just glad you stayed on.
Well, that's not unheard of, that internet outages and technical problems happen. With Bakker, it kind of reminds. It's like with Benjamin Pavard and Joe Cancelo for Bayern. There's two defenders. They're like, definitely not keeping them. Not keeping them. Maybe we will keep them. No, we're definitely not keeping them. Maybe we will keep them. That's going back and forth. These are decisions that are going to be made after the season when it comes down to it. We shall see. They were actively looking for an upgrade up, and they have
3-1. There you go. Yeah, they have pulled one back because again, as soon as the pressure kind of comes on heavily, there it is a deflected goal, I think, and it just kind of flicks up. Not much Hradecky could have done, but good sustained pressure there from Union Saint-Gilloise. But hopefully that's not going to be the start of a kind of collapse. Now, they didn't keep it at 3-0 very long there, did they?
Terho. Sounds like
Terho, yeah, interesting. I'm not sure if that's a kind of Dutch-Belgian name or a French-Belgian name. I'm not sure.
He was actually subbed on in the half. Yeah, he was. Oh, he's a Finn.
So, a Finn?
Yeah, okay. Finish against his
good finish from the Finn.
Yes, Finn finish. Yeah. That's the joke that you must say every last time.
Yeah. It is. It's a nice finish, actually. It looks like a good goal. It got the deflection. It wouldn't have gone in without the deflection, I don't think. But that happens in football. If you don't have a shot, then you can't score. So.
Yeah, well, it deflects off Flotzek, and Hradecky he stood absolutely no chance. There's no way that he could have reacted to that deflection in time. Okay, well, is it possible that they get 2 more goals here in 25 minutes? Anything's possible. Okay.
It is. I'm still confident for Leverkusen. I'm still very, very confident. But, we thought
we had the match sewn up. We thought we had the 2-4 in aggregate there. And we were about to answer some of the questions that are popping up there. And the comment.
Well, we are still going to go to some of those questions from Ballon as well, which is a question for Peter and Mark B. We see plenty of English players in German football recent years. Could we see English managers such as Gerrard, Lampard, and that's an interesting question because, from my knowledge, German clubs always prefer a German speaker in 9 times out of 10. Can you concur with that, Peter?
Absolutely, but I mean, obviously, a trainer who speaks English is just fine as well. I mean, because most of the players they've been learning English since they were small and in grade school. I'm trying to think of who the last one was. Steve McLaren for Wolfsburg. Is he English or is he Irish?
Yeah, he was English. He was the former England manager as well.
That's right, Steve McLaren. Yeah, so Steve McLaren was the head coach for Wolfsburg. It was after Wolfsburg won the title. So he oversaw them, back in the Grafitsch days. He was popular in the Bundesrepublik. I remember a lot of people were rooting for him. A lot of people were they really wanted to see him succeed. He's the last one that I recall. As we see, they're putting some pressure on here. Probably should have had a pop there. That's not. Oof.
Jeez, yeah. We're starting to see a few Leverkusen moments at the moment, I'm
Oh,
afraid. Yeah,
oh Lord, what happened there?
yeah. The
Slide.
ball just went right through and it ends up, is it Boniface? Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that was
gets a real
Boniface.
chance in the end. I think Hadatsky looked really, really nervous. It's this young man, the guy who got the goal, who's been very dangerous,
Oh, and
actually.
he probably would have been offside anyway. Oh, good Lord, he collided. That's head to post.
Ooh, whew.
Oof.
Ouch,
Yeah,
yeah, that is a
let's
pain.
let's make sure that hopefully the concussion protocols are in place.
That is a painful one.
God,
But
I mean,
I've got to say, I've been
it-
really impressed with Casper Terholt, the substitute. He only came on at half time as well, by the way.
yes, the Finn is going right at his compatriot Hadeczki there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So we're in a back five here. We got Demirbai dropping back way deep here to defend. 1-on-1.
Oh,
Ooh, this looks like we're in for an exciting finish here.
yeah. This is not that convincing from Leverkusen. Since they went 3-0 up, they obviously thought the game was completely dead and buried. But you know, I did mention I expected Union to kind of come back, at least get a few chances, but I didn't expect this really, you know, and they really are threatening a second goal here. That's the worry, really. It's
Okay.
going to be a big 10, 15 minutes for Union, for Leverkusen, this, I think. The corner comes in, well defended this time, but it's once again, the ball is recycled, although he gives it away there. And although the man Terho, again, great play for him to keep the ball alive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He's been superb since he came on.
Yeah.
Although my man Burgess again. I don't think he's going to be top of Man City's shopping list this summer. Anyway, although Boniface is literally taking on the whole. Oh jeez! Oh no! Jeez, he's hit the aluminium.
Yes, it has. That's not Boniface. Boniface is number 7.
Boniface laid it on. It's the winger there. Yeah, the Boniface is some really good player to. Jesus, yeah, this is not looking good. Leverkusen have kind of fallen apart a little bit here. He's just hit the stanchion between the crossbar and the post there. Very unlucky for Union not to make it 3-2 there.
Yeah, that's a Dringa. He was the one who was brought on for Tessen in the first half during that tactical change that even escaped the German minute-by-minute writers. Oh, what an effort that was. Oh, beautiful.
Well, I think it was offside, in truth. I do think if the goal had gone in, it'd probably gone to VAR, but it was a border. They're not always as clear-cut as you think, those ones.
Yeah.
The way they measure these days, I don't think anyone knows really what's going on.
Still a lovely curling effort there. It was,
yeah. It was a very aesthetic effort, definitely. Crashing off the top of the crossbar. But yeah, Leverkusen, just as the 70-minute mark is just ticking by now. Leverkusen are not probably. This is the least comfortable they've looked the whole match, I would say, Peter.
Absolutely, and yeah, they're having trouble playing out of the back there. Union SG are in a 4-3-3. We can tell that now. And yeah, this back five. Okay, as we see another substitute being readied, looks like is this going to be Adli coming on or?
Looks like Adli to me.
Yes, it is Adli, who's been hurt. But there's actually really, you know, it was because of other injuries in the team that he ended up having such a surprising breakthrough season last time.
Yeah, I think it just proves the depth in this Leverkusen squad. Though. I mean, Adli is an excellent player, really. It's and you know, to bring him on at this stage is a great benefit, really. Although looks though, have they picked up an injury there as well?
He's come on for Frimpong.
Yeah.
Which is also a curious call, considering how good Frimpong was on both sides of the ball. Yeah, I think, with Tapsoba and Amiri and Frimpong coming off, Xabi he's got his eye on the league now. He wants a better performance in the league. Let's hope it doesn't cost them in this crucial competition. As we see, Bakker.
He's obviously trying to flex his squad a little bit, isn't he? Like, obviously, he does have a very, very good, you know, probably the third. It's a top 4 squad at the end of the day. This, you know, along with Bayern, Dortmund, and Leipzig. Let's be honest. This is the 3rd or the 4th best squad in German football. There's no question about that for me. And I think, you know, he is flexing that squad a little bit. Just a few updates as well of the scores around Europe. Seville are actually 2-0 up against Man United, by the way. Yeah, that's a pretty huge result. And also another big. Roma have scored against Feyenoord as well, so that's currently 1-1 on aggregate now. So Yeah, it looks as though we're going to have to wait a bit more time to see who plays. Hopefully, Leverkusen, if they manage to see through this last 20, 25 minutes or so. But yeah, I mean, that would be a huge turn-up, wouldn't it? Seville beating Man United. They always say that Seville are the experts of Europa League, you know, and that would be an absolutely huge turn-up for them.
Yeah, how many have they won? I think it's
4 or 5, I think, in the last 15 years. Yeah, they've won a lot. So.
Okay, here we see a little, I don't know, okay. Bit of a desperate ice hockey clearance there from Lotzek.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this is, I don't like what I've seen the last 5 to 7 minutes.
You have to sit back and defend here, I suppose, and just withstand the onslaught. There's no sense in taking any risks when you have a 2-goal cushion and just a little bit over a quarter of an hour remaining. But we'll see. This is all set up for a fine finish.
Yeah, it is.
Xabi's 3 substitutions thus far have all been talent downgrades, if we're brutally honest about it. So that
a few pretty strange substitutions. As you mentioned, maybe he is looking ahead to the game against Leipzig, because, you know, if they can win that, then top 4 is also achievable. But I don't understand why he'd want top 4. Maybe he doesn't trust his team to go and win the Europa League. Maybe it's that. I don't know. But it's
well, after the performance in the league last weekend, when they really should have torn that horrible Wolfsburg tactical structure apart, you know, there's probably some questions about that there. Oh, that's a nifty little header on, and then Wirtz, who is dispossessed in the midfield, doesn't look like Union's going to have the advantage in numbers. Yeah, a little bit too hard for Adringa to hold that ball up. Up. Nice clearance by Hradecki. Okay. This is Adringa. Or not.
Yeah.
Out wide.
Oh, good play there from Leverkusen. He's dispossessed third, so.
Ball away from Hradecki, rebounds. Oh. Okay, now let's.
It's getting really, really tight. It's getting so open. Like Union SG, he looks like a good player as well. He's been really good. This number 8 for Union as well. He's really got involved with the game the last 10, 15 minutes or so. He looks like a player as well. Union really starting to show the quality a little bit now as well.
What the hell is Hradecki doing there with that paw away?
Yeah. Things don't look that good for Leverkusen at the moment. But, you know, the advantage with football is that time's always ticking down, isn't it?
Yeah, very true.
Time is getting, they still have that 2-goal cushion and they should be able to see it out from here. But things aren't looking that pretty at the moment, let's say that.
Well, I mean, it's pretty as long as we get an entertaining conclusion to this match.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, from a football perspective, yeah, it is more interesting if it does go the distance, you know. But obviously, from a Bundesliga perspective, we need to have that team in the latter stages of the tournament. And as I say, I do believe that Leverkusen have got the quality to go on and make the final. If not win it, then definitely make the final, which should be, you know, another fantastic event for our channel as well.
Indeed. Well, that would be an excellent. Yes, we'd certainly be happy to do that watch along. Wouldn't be the same event as when Frankfurt took it and the 25-year drought. But you know, if it is the case that Leverkusen don't finish in the top 4 and they manage to win the Europa League, we're getting well ahead of ourselves here. But if something like that were the case, then we would once again have 5 German representatives in the Champions League next year.
Yeah. That's very true.
Fantastic for German football. Yeah. Here we have an interesting set piece. Looks like we're about 25 meters out here. Time to maybe dig deep into that playbook and take out a nice design. That's a short take. Played conservatively. Wirtz still puts it in. Glancing header from, was that Kosunu? Yeah.
No, a bit of a waste that really, wasn't it? But they did take the chance to kind of run down the clock a little bit, which you've got to do that a little bit, you know, especially in European football. Most of the other teams do it, so, you know, you've got to do it as well a little bit. One thing I like about German teams is that they always want to play fair. It's a very big point of the German football, and I think they pride themselves on fair play at the end of the day, which we don't always see from the likes of the Spaniards, the Portuguese, or the Italians. Let's be honest now.
Well, it happens that there's deliberate time wasting, and it happens almost every weekend in the Bundesliga. When it happens on an egregious level, like when a team is trying to shepherd, triple shield the ball near the corner flag or something like that, that actually becomes a big story, because that sometimes leads to fisticuffs after the match.
It's not really respected in Germany, I don't think.
No, that particular tactic, when you're trying to just shield the ball by the corner flag, that particular one is frowned upon. We saw a little bit of that from Davy Selke earlier this season, as a matter of fact, when he was playing for Hertha. There was an incident after the match, as the match drew by, because that kind of poor sportsmanship is generally particularly frowned upon. But it does happen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that the way they set up that set piece was necessarily deliberate time wasting. I would have liked to have seen a more interesting design, but perhaps Xavi has to save it for the league, just like he has to save some legs. He's here we have Ta, who unleashes Bakker. Don't think we have the numbers necessarily here, but Diaby has slipped through, and he gets an effort on target, and that is Hlotzek with the rebound. 4-1. That should.
Well, you're a little bit ahead of me, but yeah, that's fantastic news. Yeah, it looks as though the game is over now. Then, after all, well, was it a good goal, Peter? Do you want to take us through it?
Absolutely. Well, I did my best to give the live.
I'm just seeing it now. Again, it's that man Mitchell Bakker with another great.
Absolutely.
Play,
Yeah. No.
That's a FIFA. I call that a FIFA goal. That one. If you've ever played FIFA on the computer.
My exact words were, "I don't think he has the numbers," and and he didn't have the numbers. It was a 2 against 4. It's a wonderful pass there. Beautiful first touch from Diaby. Of course, the keeper might have done a better job to hold that. The rebound is spilled directly to Hlotzek, who has a gift, really. That is 4-1. Well, hello, look at this. 5 goals in our
we've had the goals today. Yeah. It's raining goals. And obviously, in contrast to last week, it's raining Bundesliga goals as well, which is what we want to see.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, this keeper for Union, he's not exactly covered himself in glory tonight.
Yeah, I looked him up. His name is Anthony Morris. He's apparently from Luxembourg.
Probably says everything you need to know, really.
Hey.
Sorry, Luxembourgians.
Leandro Barrero, who's starting for Mainz and doing a good job, is from Luxembourg.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
As is the half Danish kid from Köln. Of course, he's not doing. There's a deflected effort that goes wide out for a corner. Doesn't really matter at this point. They're not scoring 3 goals in the final 3 minutes, unless they were playing Dortmund. Perhaps, I don't know.
That's true. Unless they were wearing the green of Werder Bremen.
That's true. Yeah.
But
wow, yeah, great match. Makes up for the fact that we didn't do a watch along for the 7-goal Hertha shot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's always good to see the goals going. I remember one of the first watch alongs we did was the Super Cup last season, and it was 5-3 to Bayern against Leipzig. You remember that one? Yeah.
Well, a really good football match, and this will get people in Germany talking a little significantly and going through Leverkusen, as we see the fans filing out of the stadium. Why not at this point? There we go. Diaby's free again. He's got to take on 3 for a counter. Do we have room for another gorgeous slip pass? Actually, he does well to hang on to the ball there on the still hung on to it and earned himself a throw. Wow. Look at Diaby still playing as well. You ever wonder what this, you remember when Leon Bailey was playing for Leverkusen?
Yeah.
You had the 2 of them on the wings.
Yeah.
That was really, they had 2 of the greatest speedsters.
Yeah. Bailey was amazing. Like, he's doing well over in Aston Villa in England as well.
Is he?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't not exactly like amazing, but he starts every game and like he's considered to be a real quality player over there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good to see that he's been able to continue that form over to England. Yeah.
Yeah. They never
Another
really
point from sorry, yeah.
They never really found a replacement for Bailey, I have to say. I mean, this team could be, God, imagine how good they could be. Well, that was one of the reasons that they eventually had to fire Peter Bosch, because, you know, with Bailey and Diaby, I mean, they just certainly weren't playing up to the level that they could. Way too much, you know, Dutch total football, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Too much ball possession and all of this stuff. But yeah, Peter Bosch mismanaged that to a certain extent, I would have to say, when the two of them were playing together, assuming that the two of them were fit. God, I mean, the team could be title contenders if they still had Bailey, I would say. And yeah, excellent match from Frimpong and Bakker as well, though, of course. I'll be trying to keep them.
I think there's been a lot of real quality performances out. It's been a great performance overall from Leverkusen. I mean, obviously letting it back to 3-1, but I guess at this level you're always going to face a period of constrained pressure against you, aren't you? And Leverkusen, obviously, they quickly put an end to that by getting that fourth goal, and now they've well and truly killed the game now. And they're just enjoying themselves out there now in front of the fans. Adli is just about, on my screen anyway, he's going to take this corner. You're probably a little bit ahead of me, but you can see the travelling Leverkusen fans as well behind them, the German flags and things like that. Probably all employees of Bayer, aren't they? Let's be honest.
No. The Leverkusen Ultras are locals. I mean, it's a company town and it's a company team, but the Leverkusen Ultra scene, you know, one has respect for them. One has slightly more respect for them than the Wolfsburg Ultra scene, which I have good respect for. I think that here we see Wirtz doing his thing. It'll be Hlotzek on the rebound. Looks like they'll have another, or no corner. It came. Hlotzek put it out himself. I mean, they're not necessarily a company people, the Ultras. Leverkusen and Wolfsburg, these two company teams, non-50+1 teams, the reason that they've earned respect in the Bundesliga, within the Bundesliga fan scene, is because of the fact that the Ultras have really made an effort, and they've brought some atmosphere to the stadium. They've done some public works. They do their choreos, their banners, and their protests, and safe pyro and things like this. Which is, although I mean, in Leverkusen, in the Bayer Arena, you don't see a lot of pyro. Yeah, I see we have a comment there from Bell about Jeremy Frimpong from Celtic. Funny story.
Yeah.
You know, writers they make mistakes. It happens. You know, unfortunately, I do try to be as fastidious as possible, but I mean, I'm going to make mistakes. And, you know, one time it was in the January transfer window of 2020, and I was confirming Frimpong's transfer. And and it was the last story that I was writing before I went to bed, I accidentally said that he came from Rangers.
Oh, that's not hard. Yeah.
Woke up early the next morning, and then realized what?
Yeah. That's a blasphemy.
I know. that I had accidentally, that I'd gotten the wrong Glasgow club, and so
that really is blasphemy.
That is blasphemy. The best Celtic transfer to come to the Bundesliga. With Moritz Jens. Moritz Mercedes Jens doing his best job to top him this year.
Yeah, but absolutely quality player. It'd be interesting to see if he does leave. I do hope he stays in the Bundesliga, but where will he go? Because I think the world's his oyster. Do you know what I mean? Because I think he's that good that he could play for there's pretty much any team, really. I would say
some whispers that Bayern might be considering bringing him in to play as a straight right fullback. I mean, what's going to happen with Bayern this offseason? I mean, they're going to spend themselves into some serious debt. Salih Hamicic and Khan really need to deliver at this point. So Bayern they're going to go on a massive spending spree, and it's going to happen quick. It's not like typically it was during the last days of the Hoeneß regime and the first days of the Salihamidzic regime where, they got transfers done at the last moment. No, there's going to be some big money transfers running through Bayern, and it's going to come before the season is over with. I think they're probably going to sign Osimhen, the former Wolfsburg player, before the season is out. They may also get this Danish kid that I was writing about the other day, Rasmus Holberg. They're going to sign maybe 2 or 3 nines because they don't want a season like this to happen again, and they certainly don't. They could still lose the league. This could be a non-trophy season for Bayern. So big money about to be spent there.
Yeah, I've got to say, if they can get Osimhen, like, they'll be getting a real good player. I've seen him a few times and been absolutely impressed with him. I think he's got some similarities to Kolo Muani, actually. They are kind of similar technical players, and they can carry the ball.
They might sign Kolo Muani.
They might do. It's possible. Yeah. They might sign both. They might get both.
They're going to have to sign 2 or 3 strikers, and that's really a delicate balancing act too. Because how do you convince a second natural center forward to join your side? Looks like, is that Demirbay who's free? Can he finish? No.
We should have gone to Hertha after all, Demirbay.
Was it Demirbay or was it Bellarabi? No, Bellarabi had the
Demirbay. Yeah, he would have been a great signing for Hertha. Actually, he is a good player, but he needs to be playing more regularly. That's the thing. It's not enough just to play like 15-minute cameos here and there. I don't think.
Demirbay and Bellarabi are 2 players that they had their little time on the German national team. I forget which one of them, maybe both, were part of Jogi Löw's Confederations Cup squad back in 2017, the last Confederations Cup, as it turned out. They were a couple of guys that I were convinced were going to rise in the German national team, but both of them have kind of seen their career stall at Leverkusen, which is rather unfortunate. I mean, Bellarabi kind of only has to set himself to blame because he does some weird stuff sometimes. I mean, and you could see that the Demirbay probably should have finished that as well.
Yeah, it should have been 5-1 there, and it wouldn't have flattered Leverkusen, really, in truth. But yeah, I think definitely, and a few other score updates as well. Have been some big goals round about Europe as well. It looks like, incredibly, the Europa League gods basically have hammered Man United as well. They're 3-0 up with just 5 minutes left. So it looks as though United seemingly cruising last week when they were 2-0 up going into the last 10 minutes, and then ended up drawing 2-2 thanks to yet another Harry Maguire own goal. That cost them, and they've been absolutely battered tonight. And also Feyenoord, as Ballum kindly updated us, have actually equalised in Rome, so they're 2-1 ahead now, which would be a massive win for them. So as we mentioned before, we could well be seeing that Bayer Leverkusen versus Feyenoord if they can hold out another 10 minutes or so. So definitely an exciting tie potentially there, Peter.
God, I hope I'm over there in time. I would absolutely go see that match live. I would, if I were over there. I would make the trip over to Holland and see that match live if I could, Or if I couldn't get tickets, I would visit Rotterdam for the first time and hang out outside the stadium with the Feyenoord ultras and try to speak Dutch.
De Kuip, they call it De Kuip, is the name of the stadium.
Disappointing night for the Belgian hosts here at Anderlecht Stadium. They have been, well, let's just face it, they've been pummeled.
Yeah. They've had a job done on them, as we'd say in Manchester. I just think they've just been beaten by a better team, and Leverkusen. Some people. Oh,
sorry. I think they've got Asmoon on, if I'm not mistaken, and he just didn't chance it. I mean, he could have scored a goal there, but decided that he wasn't going to risk injury with the ambitious touch. Oh well.
It doesn't need to anyway, really, I guess. It's, we're into the 91st minute now, really, really deep into the game. Yeah, but it's Yeah, definitely. So the Europa League, it looks like, as things stand, we're looking at a Juventus Seville semi-final and then Leverkusen Feyenoord. Yeah, that'd be quite interesting, really. I think probably the two favourites. Seville, they're not having a good season over in Spain, but I mean, as you mentioned, it just seems as soon as they play in this tournament in the Europa League, they just play the best football. It's just absolutely crazy. Their record is just frightening, really. It really is, because it's a hard tournament to win, the Europa League, a very, very hard tournament. It's a grueling tournament which lasts from the very, very early part of August right the way through to, well, this year it'll be the end of May or even early June, possibly the final. So, yeah, I mean, to keep producing those results in that tournament every year is just crazy.
Asmoon decided not to chance it again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
He's had a bit of a nightmare since he came off the bench.
I mean, I'm pleased that he's finally finding his feet in the Bundesliga. I mean, I think that I never liked how they called him the Iranian Messi. I always thought that was silly, but he's a talented player. There's no doubt about that. It's good that he's in German football. He very nearly left. And I really like what he was ahead of the rest of the Iranian national team in protesting against his own regime. I thought he was going to get kicked off the national team. He was doing that during the Nations League, well before we got to all the stuff that was going on in the World Cup. So that is it. The full-time whistle. Did you catch that other?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was quite. He's had a bit of a nightmare in those last few minutes there. Yeah, he probably should have had a brace in truth. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. He's a good player, but he should. That second one should have been 5-1. There's no question about that. But yeah, definitely. Again, it just proves the quality that Leverkusen have off the bench. The likes of Asmoon and Adli coming off the bench today. This is a squad packed with talent, but they still need Wirtz in there. When Wirtz is on his absolute form. I mean, I didn't think tonight was his absolute best performance. Actually, I'd say there were better performers out there than him tonight. I would say probably Frimpong and Baka were probably the two players that absolutely stood out to me really tonight. But there were a lot of very good performances in there. Lozek ended up having a good game after a quiet opening. Diaby, obviously. The first goal is so important in football, and he finished that really well early on to put them. If they'd have missed that chance, who knows how the game would have gone on. It might not have been so comfortable for Leverkusen like it ended up being. Yeah, congratulations to Leverkusen. Obviously, they managed to make some subs as well, which is a big thing because, they're going to be potentially fitter ahead of Sunday's game against RB Leipzig as well now, which is obviously one of the big build games ahead of this weekend 29 of the Bundesliga season. Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, we still don't. It seems as though this game is a little bit ahead of some of the other fixtures. So, yeah, we're still waiting for the results of the other games, the final results. But it looks as though Feyenoord will hold out. I think they're into the 89th minute there right now. So, not long left. Barring some Mourinho miracle.
I think, or no, wait. No, Paulo Dybala scores. For
Roma. Okay. Yeah.
That's 2-1, which leaves it at what on that? That means
there's no away goal, so it's going to go into extra time by the look of it. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
So yeah, it's a pity that they don't have away goals because otherwise Feyenoord would be through anyway. So yeah. But anyway, it looks as though we're going to go to extra time there in Rome anyway. I was just going to say some last-minute Mourinho magic. It seems as though it has happened after all in the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of our watch-along. A 4-1 win for Leverkusen. They will go on to the semi-final of the Europa League where they'll play against Roma or Feyenoord. Any closing points, Peter?
No, I guess it's time to wish everyone a pleasant time watching the extra time of Feyenoord Roma, assuming that it stays that way. And thanks for joining us on our watch along here. It's a great night for German football. We'll certainly get a lot of tongues wagging in the Bundesrepublik, and hopefully another watch along for us when we get to the semi-final stage.
Definitely, yeah. So, yeah, if you did enjoy what you saw today, remember to check out our Twitter feed @OverTheBarFB and @OverTheBarExtra. Also our main site, which is otbfootball.net. And then obviously, the like, comment, and subscribe. We are getting very close to 1,000 now. So that's our goal before the end of the season, to keep going further and further past 1,000 and to God knows where in the future. Don't forget to check out our Football League Weekly as well, because they still produce a weekly show as well about the lower leagues of English football. So yeah, and we'll see you again, I guess, for the next show will be the review show on Monday. So yeah, we'll see you then, guys. Bye-bye.